forward number 2 cargo hold heard and felt a distinctive crash as Britannic collided heavily with something in the water. They rushed up on deck, expecting to have to evacuate, but found, strangely, that all was quiet. They reported this to the bridge, and lookouts at the stern were alarmed to see a mine bob to the surface. 2 months earlier, the German submarine U-73 had laid mines in the Kia Channel, where Britannic was now sailing. The ship had hit one dead on with such force that the mine's anchor chains were severed, so it floated freely to the surface. Fortunately for Britannic, the mine was inert and it failed to explode. After the war, when Britannic was dry docked for her refit, a deep indentation in her forward plating was spotted. It's thought unlikely that, given the safety enhancements made to Britannic after Titanic's loss, that a single mine would be enough to sink her, but it was still a close call regardless. In early 1917, Britannic submarine commanders at a distance. The scheme was called the Type 18B Dazzle Scheme and made use of black, grey, olive, mauve and blue paint. She was certainly hard to miss. For most of 1917, Britannic made a dozen voyages across the Atlantic, dodging German submarines and relying on her high top speed for safety. For this reason, she never sailed in convoy or with an escort, and her engines were pushed to the max. Thanks to her more powerful central turbine, which was rated at 18,000 horsepower, Britannic could reach speeds of up to 24 knots. In 1917, her sister ship Olympic famously rammed and sank a German U-boat, but Britannic's trooping voyages were ordinary, save for one occasion when a periscope was thought spotted in the distance and some cursory shots were made to scare the enemy sub away. By 1918, with the United States having entered the war, Britannic marked her first arrival in New York Harbor. Not as a passenger ship, of course, but still, thousands turned out to see the massive liner arrive for the first time. By 1919, the war was over, and both Britannic and Olympic had survived the conflict, putting White Star Line in a good position to resume regular passenger services. But first, hundreds of thousands of soldiers had to be repatriated to Britain, Canada, and the United States. Olympic and Britannic worked hard side by side, and Britannic became a regular sight in Halifax. Of the two ships, Britannic was withdrawn from service first in August of 1919 for overhaul. Olympic, which had been hastily repainted in her civilian colours, would maintain an austerity service between Southampton and New York to lessen the impact of having two major liners out of commission for overhaul. At Belfast, finally, all of the magnificent interior fittings intended for Britannic back in 1914 were installed. The pipe organ, the